Like the homework.
Looking at this. Swords. About the last one, just forget it. Wait, the clock to turn 7, we'll get going.
Very long minute.
Second waiting for start, right to start. There we go, 7 o'clock. We're going to call this meeting to order. Let's go ahead and stand and do the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So welcome everyone to our December 10th, 2024 City Council meeting. For those that are online, welcome. We do broadcast this in a hybrid format, so those that wish to attend from home can listen in, dial in, and even provide feedback. It doesn't look like we have anyone. We also broadcast this on YouTube, so individuals that wish to watch it on YouTube are more than willing to or able to do that as well. So before we move on with our regular scheduled agenda, is there any consent agenda topics that council would like to hold up for regular discussion? Councilor Young? I have none. Councilor Steininger?
No, I don't have any.
Councilor Thomas? Councilor Rogers? All right. We're going to kick off this evening with award presentations. That way, those receiving awards here that have come in do not have to sit around for the entire meeting. And with this, do we want to kick off with mine first or for the city one? All right, the city's all the same. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so I'm going to come around front and then come back and forth, come back and forth. So hopefully I can speak nice and loud. So can I have Glenn Holland come forward? Yeah, I know you would. Yeah. So I would like to present to Glenn Holland this year's recipient for the Klasinski Yearly Volunteer Award. When I called Glenn and told him that we were going to be giving him this award, I let him know at the end it was his endless dedication to the city, the committee, North Marion as a whole. For those that don't know, Glenn has sat on the North Marion School Board for some time. That I know.
Almost 8 years.
Yes, including chairing the school district board for some time, and that is not an easy job. He has also served on the planning commission, even though he lives just right outside the city district, or city boundary, he still serves on that planning commission, and we hope he can continue serving on said planning commission. He is a valued contributor. He does a lot for the community, and this year I can't think of a better recipient to earn this, and I don't think anyone on council disagrees. So congratulations, Glenn.
Thank you.
Feel like a high school coach or something, handing out like letters. All right. Can I get Counselor Thomas down here real quick?
I just had a.
Oh.
For this award.
Counselor Thomas, this is a recognition for your time served on council. It has been a privilege and a pleasure to serve with you. You have taught me a lot. We've had good discussions, good debates, but at the end of the day, we always did agree commitment forward with respect for the city. Congratulations. Enjoy time now away from council and your Tuesday back.
I did give the mayor a say we didn't have to stay for the rest of the.
Now, James Aldrich and I, were appointed at the same time on the city council in a city that was very divided. It was not an easy task for him to take a seat. It was very contentious for the first probably 6 or 7 months. We stayed true and, he served not only on the council, but the entire time we served together as the president of the city council. His wisdom, his guidance, his course correction when I was going the wrong way has always been valued. I will miss his counsel dearly. Thank you for serving with me. And Patrick, we have Patrick here? Yes, right there. You snuck in. You were here early. Patrick is another one receiving a award tonight for serving on the planning commission. One of these roles, just like Glenn, it's kind of hidden behind the scenes. You don't really see much. Hopefully there's not a lot of contention with the planning commission. It should go pretty smooth. Serving from October 2020 to December 2024. So I'm guessing that's what, about 2 years, a little over 2 years. Anytime we get someone to volunteer, step forward, put their time forward like this, it is much appreciated. Patrick, thank you so much for serving.
Thank you.
And I'm sure we shall miss you on there, especially being vice chair from 2023 to 2024.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Now, I think we go to the city.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I would like to call Melinda Ollier up here.
May you prepare a seat.
Well, these are my copy notes for that. So, Melinda was hired as an administrative assistant for Public Works in September of 1999. She was promoted to the Public Works Administration Manager in November of 2018. And in June 2024, she was promoted to the Public Works Superintendent for the city. Melinda has received countless certificates, to name a few: Project Management, Road Scholar 1 and 2, Disaster and Emergency Management, and several others. Her wall is covered with certifications. Melinda has successfully secured funding for many of our projects, including the A Street Road and sidewalk. She's also secured funding for our water and wastewater projects. And most recently, she helped the city secure almost $500,000 for playground equipment for Revenus Park. So on behalf of the city of Hubbard, I would like to present Melinda with her 25-year service award.
I wrote down what I was gonna say, so I wouldn't forget. So Julie was hired in September 2019 as the administrative assistant court clerk. And her first day was extremely chaotic. Some have probably already heard this story, but I'm gonna go ahead and share again. I unexpectedly was the only person in the office that day, and while I was trying to onboard Julie, I was thinking she probably thought she had made a big mistake. It was like, you know, out of a frying pan into the fire, so to speak. The utility billing and court payments were coming in, the phones were ringing off the hook, and we were trying to prepare for the following week's municipal court. Julie did not hesitate. She jumped in, started manning the phones, learning how to cash receipt payments, and do whatever she could to help. So I thought for someone's first day, what a worse day to start out. So the next day, I was very surprised. She actually came back, walked through the door. I knew she was the right person. And I'm so relieved that she came back, because then we moved on into 2020 COVID. And we had to be open-minded with all the challenges that were happening, and we had to figure out new ways to continue operating the city. And although sometimes it seemed like it was a war of roses, Julie continued to keep upbeat, positive, creative attitude, and I appreciate that. And then we went to 2021, and we were back to a two-person team, and to keep the city running, some of the finance duties were given to Julie. She again did not hesitate to take on the challenges of utility billing tasks, investigating and cleaning up old files and incorrect entries that were entered into the system. Julie goes above her requirements and is not only an asset to the city administration department, but to the city of Hubbard. Thank you, Julie, for your 5 years of continued and dedicated service to the city of Hubbard.
By the way, I like the change of format of actually doing these in the meeting as opposed to some off-site thing.
And for everybody else, before you leave, just pick up a participation ribbon as you.
Okay. With that, sorry, let's go ahead and move on. Agenda topic, next to topic agenda is a public hearing or a continuation of it for the legislative amendment LA 202403. Legislative amendment for the horizontal mixed use regarding language to revise the Hubbard Development Code, allowing for residential development with the C commercial within the C commercial zone on the ground floor. So with that, I am going to go ahead and open up the public hearing. It is currently 7:10 p.m. on December 10th, 2024. At this point in time, this public meeting will be open, but we are going to move, hopefully, to have this actually continued and keep this open until the next council session, January 14th, 2025. So with that, and please let me know if I'm somehow jumping ahead of myself, Administrator Noble, I would like to make a motion to continue the City Council's public hearing on legislative amendment file LA 2024-03 horizontal mixed-use code project to the next regular meeting of the City Council, which is Tuesday, January 14th, 2024 at 7 p.m. at the Hubbard City Hall and also remotely through Zoom. Make a second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor do say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed say nay. Okay, the public meeting will remain open and will continue through January until January 14th, 2024. It should be 2025, actually.
As amended.
As amended. Director Noble, do you want us to redo that motion with the correct year?
No, I think we have that down in a minute.
All right. Later on, you'll find out that Vicky was promoted to Chief Noble as well. Okay, with that, let's move on to agenda number 4, urban renewal presentation with discussion to follow. We'll hand it over to Mr. Lagarza. Did I say that correctly? Lagarza. We messed that up.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor and Council. John Garza, Health Stanley Community, back here again in front of you. We were here just about 3 months ago here to talk to you about the urban renewal. We have the chief here has a PowerPoint here for us this evening to pull up here for us. So update to where we're at here. So again, next slide, Vicki, please. Perfect. Okay, so since initiating the study, we came in 2024 July. We've met with staff, and I just got to commend the city manager, the public works, the chief, and the staff here. They did a fantastic job. We met with them right away to just understand more of the city and some of the intricacies within there. And they moved forward and really helped us set up a technical advisory committee that provided input. And we met over the last 3 months with that technical advisory committee. And good representation of business folks, the school district, the fire department, the Public Works, the Police Chief, and those representatives that really kind of helped to provide what you're going to see here tonight is we went through 4 boundary options and having their input to really look at determining that area for the urban renewal district here. So we're going to get in tonight and talk about the option that came up was option D here. 78 lots, it's about 90 acres, 9.5% of Hubbard's area out there. Assessed value of 15.7 million, which is about 6.3% of the city's total there. So really looking at that, you're gonna see that model is anywhere from 2.8 to 3 million in net TIF revenue for 20 years and could be up to 1.7 million over 30 years. So, Vicki, the next slide, please. So on this slide here, again, we started out with 2 options working with the TAC options A and B there, which really consisted of option A, 55 lots, around 78 acres. Option B was 76 lots, 112 acres. From that first meeting with the TAC there, we kind of came back and refined that to an option C there. And when we came in with option C there, it went down to around 77 lots, around 88 acres, about 16 million in assessed value. And then after that final meeting, we came forward with option B there. Is the final presentation that we're going to talk to you about tonight. But Vicki, we'll just kind of go through and scroll here on the screen what option A looked like here. You can see it went along the Main Street area here and right in along 99 here, taking in those lots and also the future residential area up there on the left-hand side you can see in the screen there. If you can scroll to option B, Vicki. Here we looked at some of the future potential, maybe industrial area outside here. The TAC really thought that was probably too aggressive, too far out in the future there. So, and then moving forward to scroll to option C here, Vicki here. We kind of focused more, again, we talked about how we can geographically spread this across the city from north to south to east to west. And this option really, again, we had a lot of great collaboration from the TAC, from the different leaders in the community and kind of refined it from here, which you'll see to option D, which is the next one here. And normally when we start these and we'll look at the feasibility of this, as we're looking at the input there, we try to have a really good balance of lots in here. We got 99, which we've talked here before, and how we can, work with ODOT and get improvements on wayfinding and directional signage in there. Working in the Main Street area, the center part of the town there, the opportunities to get infrastructure investment done in there, and really to look at how we can enhance that area for the business improvement district for economic areas too, on the front end and the ends of the city there too. And again, also looking at that future residential area, that's really going to be an opportunity to drive dollars in here in this area as that comes in for the TIF area there. So if you go to the next slide, please. Okay. So when we look at when we start to do the modeling here, as you can see, we really take time and look at what those historic valuations happened in this area within Hubbard over the last, from 2014 to 2023. You can see those valuations grew from 2014 on the top graph on the right there, from around about 11 million up to just close to almost 16 million there. So, and then we look at the graph underneath there to kind of see what are kind of those increments happening within that those boundaries that we're looking at and studying out there. So the 20-year timeline, we're looking at again $2.8 to $3 million SNF and TIF revenue. Could be a maximum dividends of 2.5. 25 years increases that to 4.6 to 4.9. And if you did a 30-year, that would be anywhere from 6.6 to 7.1. Say probably a 6.5 maximum indebtedness there. So really looking at a 3% growth in there. From that standpoint there. The next slide there, please. Again, this kind of just re-summarizes some options to think about, 20, 25, and 30-year options again. The maximum indebtedness is on the bottom column that goes there from left to right, 2.5, 4.5, and 6.5 million there. So the next slide, please. So really tonight, we're here coming back to the council, asking for authorization to continue to move forward. If you look at the timeline up there, we came and had our first TAC meeting in September and went forward and had our boundary meetings and inputs to 2 more TAC meetings in October and November. We're here tonight to update you, to give you the ranges here from this standpoint here, asking direction to really move forward. If you go to the next slide, Vicky kind of blows it up a little harder, you can see here. That would be completing, just kind of taking and dialing in a couple final areas in the boundary. So really looking at like what that PUD would lay out over on that residential area there. Really looking at some of the PUDs that have kind of come in, so we can kind of model that to another higher level there. And then just kind of looking at really what what those projects would be, with working with the city staff and with the TAC from that standpoint there. So that would happen in, basically, December, January, start the process of having public input on those projects there. Then we would get into, April, which is consultant for with the taxing districts, that's a 45-day minimum there. And then we would come forward with planning commission, county briefing, back to city council here in July, 2 meetings, and then effective, the plan would go in effect in September, be approved here and move forward, and then start, forward with the county for future collections there. So with that, if you can go to the next slide there, happy to answer any questions you may have this evening too.
First question I have for you on option D, if I look at the map, I would thought, and I could be mistaken on this, that all areas need to be connected by some sort of a common route, right? Some sort of so it can't just be piecemeal. But when I look at the southern portion on D, especially through the industrial zone, it looks like we've got a lot of areas where I don't see any connections necessarily, or crosswalks even. Is that permissible?
Mayor, you're absolutely correct. So what we would do is, it's kind of called cherry stemming. What we kind of talked with the TAC is, that's where we get into just drawing some really refined lines. We would connect those there. So we'd probably do like, 10 to 15, we'd go down the right of way along 99 to connect those in those instances. So picking that up and looking how we could do, projects in the future. But yes, we would connect those. We'll have a smaller, drawn line for those pieces there. So, yes.
It makes sense to actually use 99 as that drawing connection, because we do want to beautify 99, make it look nicer coming into the city.
Correct, and that's why we try to show like, we have roughly approximately 99 acres. When we take a little deeper dive into looking at those PUDs that fit in that large, area up there, we're gonna pick up a little bit extra acreage is gonna drop out. So when we do that cherry stemming and picking up for the wayfinding and signage along 99, it'll balance out at the end of the day there. So it really helps to kind of, but you're absolutely right on the cherry stemming.
So the other question I have is on page 12, when you go through the option B model.
Yeah.
My first question is, of the 55 acres of undeveloped area that's currently in our city area, down south, is that already, are you assuming a value of tax revenue coming from that area in your calculations below, or is that based off of known numbers today?
What we do, you're looking
Would
at.
it would be like, well, for mine it's 12.
Slide 12.
It's not, I don't know if it's like 12 or not on that. It's after you show that map.
Okay,
Go after the map. Right there. No.
One more further down.
one more.
There you
Oh,
go.
yeah. Mhm. Okay, what's your question again, Ben?
Where are the numbers coming from?
Oh, so
I mean, are we including the 55 acres of undeveloped land already?
Yes, and we're looking at that, we're being conservative. We took a very conservative base when we started. Yes, we're looking at that red zone. And what we would do then is we work with the city on some of the PUDs they haven't got, that have come in. So we would take that even into more refined, getting in the weeds and look at how many total lots there. So the tip would, the number would go up because we're conservative right now in our modeling and that, but yes, to our extent, when we're timed at, probably within 5 years coming in into the tip there. But the density, we're conservative in our density, but we've seen that the PUD is even more dense. So that's gonna, your number is gonna go up higher when you run that from that standpoint there.
And what did you use then for your calculation, then moving it from the 20 years to the 25, or even the maximum indebtedness, et cetera? Is there some sort of a calculation, or what's the percentage that you would use to do that increase? Would it be 3%?
3% a year that we're conservative. And, and you can see that what really will drive this is bringing that residential piece in, right? And, we brought in the case when we kind of showed what happened in Wilsonville with Belleville, right? We're getting that, developed and brought into the city, and that will feed back into this. It really helps the sooner that can happen. we're projecting that it would happen within 5 years from that standpoint, so that would help really that increment in the future for the TIF area there, so. It's a big, a great opportunity to really make that happen with the developer and the landowners there for the city, so.
I don't want to monopolize the questions. Councilor Rogers, do you have any questions?
What happens if the 55 acres of residential doesn't get developed in the next 5 years? What does that look like? Have we projected that?
Then
Possibility.
what happens is that the TIF revenue will just come in slower, right? So really thinking of like, it would just move out, to maybe like 10 years, and it would just come in slow from that standpoint. And what happens in that case is that, once you have your district put in place and as the funds start coming in, eventually then what we'll do is we'll have meeting with some financial institutions and, whether it's banks or bonds. And we'll look at the timing of that, cash flow, right? So the cities still like to move forward and bring that in. It's just gonna be a timing of how much you could bring debt forward from that standpoint there.
So my assumption is we wouldn't be able to borrow against an unrealized asset such as the 55 acres
There
being
you go.
built.
Yeah.
Until that is developed and we actually have a baseline revenue, here's what we can do to borrow, current funds.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And what, like, Piper Sound or, they do a lot of the TIF work up here in this area here. So they would want to see like the PUDs, the permits are being closed, it's recorded with the county, homes are starting, right? And then they're gonna be comfortable looking at what that model would be, for financing in that instance there, so.
Councilor Steiner?
I don't have any questions.
Councilor Allen?
Yeah, so, I was, haven't really dealt with this before. So I understand the basic idea is we, just stop, the city and other taxing districts, we just freeze our income from the tax at this point, and any increase in value, any increase in those taxes go into this PUD.
Yeah.
This district that we're putting together. Well, it sounds like a public utility district, but I know it's not the. Anyway, so we've got this thing that I was unaware of that I just kind of now I see here, I've highlighted a few times, maximum indebtedness. Talk to me about that. I mean, are we able to like go out and borrow money against future earnings?
Yes, that's what it would be. So just think of like, it would be the opportunity for the urban renewal agency. It functions as any other, governmental agency. So just as the city could go out and borrow against future tax revenues that come in this, or the same thing that the urban renewal agency can do, they can go out and borrow against that, right? So, what Councilor Thomas was talking earlier is that in order to do that, though, any financial institution or bank would want to see that those cash flows are coming in and projected moving forward from that standpoint there. So yes, that's a range, right? To think about like what you could go out and borrow and then bring those dollars ahead of time. But they're also gonna want to see that that development is happening and moving forward from that standpoint.
Interesting, and we're gonna be able to repay those.
Repay that debt. Yep.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking that we would, go out and borrow money against this. I just thought it would come into a pot of money and then we would spend out of that pot of money versus going out and borrowing money against future revenues.
You can do two things. So a lot of agencies, when you first start, it's just gonna come in very slowly, right? And as it builds up, but at some point you're gonna go like, okay, we're comfortable enough, let's go forward and maybe we want to get the streets and the sidewalks done and we see that's a $1 million project, right? So to do that, maybe, okay, let's go take a loan out from a bank and then, do that capital improvement project for the infrastructure. So that's the benefits of it there instead of, just going like from one block to one block or getting those things done.
Okay, that was my.
Back to Councilor Thomas, because I didn't mean to cut you off and jump away.
And yeah, the only other thing was, Hubbard Police Department, is indicated as Chief Noble.
Yeah, we correct that.
We correct, yeah, I caught that. That's what I was joking that, Vicky got promoted.
Sean was moving them around. No, it's our fault. My fault.
That's.
Okay, back to Councilor Rogers.
Who administers this, your company?
you know, we can help with that, absolutely. We can help your city do that. We do that for cities in that aspect there. It'll start slowly once you get it in place there, but you will need staff and, you know, to do that, but yes, you can do that.
So how do you get paid?
How do we get paid? At the end of the day, once we get it in place, we can sit down and talk to the city and see what works best for you. Next thing.
Wait, Administrator White.
Yeah, thank you. So just to be clear, that's its own separate agency from the city. So it's gonna have its own account, its own fund, completely separate. So when we look at expenditures associated with running the urban renewal district, so staff time can be charged to that for the work that they put in, which would actually help offset some of the general fund. And then, so if Mr. Lagarza continues on and helps us run the urban renewal district, he would be paid out of the urban renewal district. So that is one advantage. I do want to say that through the process, this actually wouldn't get put into place because through budget law, we actually have to build a budget and go through the whole budget approval process. So it would not be until 2027 if this does get approved through the process. Additionally, I do want council to kind of keep in the back of their mind that, you know, I presented the 5-year financial forecasts. We're about $130,000 in an operating deficit for this fiscal year. Staff is working with that. We are projected to be in another operating deficit next year. And implementation of this program will decrease some of the 3% property tax revenue that we budget for to help offset some of that deficit. So there is kind of a give and take. But one of the things that Mr. Lagarza and I were talking about is really staff salary could be offset as well through this program. So there's kind of a give and take. It's really about the vision that council has.
So is today's presentation just an inform at this point? The district map that you guys are going to present for, or at least recommend, is still not final? It's just we're moving forward with option D?
Correct. We would need a motion from council for staff to proceed to actually go through the whole timeline that's up on the screen.
Yeah. Are you looking for that motion today?
Yeah.
On the timeline then, I've had the opportunity to listen to at least a few of the calls. So I've seen how at least the process has been working, and there's good discussion. Definitely a huge supporter of the urban renewal district, for lack of a better term, for us to actually start trying to see improvements along 3rd Street, along 99E, et cetera. This is a mechanism that will allow us to at least generate the funds to put projects at present value as opposed to trying to save funds for an uncertain future value. With that, at least that's my 2 cents. Before I make a motion, though, is there any additional questions from council? Okay, so with that, I'd like to see if I can wing this one. Make a motion that we authorize city staff to continue working forward on the timeline as presented before us. Do we want to call this the TIF or the Urban Renewal District effort?
So I would prefer it's urban renewal districts.
Okay.
As we would be creating a separate agency.
Then I'll go ahead and say I would make a motion that we approve city staff to continue working forward on the timeline to implement urban renewal district and bring back to the city council. I'm assuming recommendations for final district plan, et cetera.
Well, it will go to the planning commission. We'll work through that process and then we have to go to the county. And then we'll come back to council in a couple different meetings.
Just want to make sure that the council still has authority to say, whoa, this is going out. Okay.
Absolutely.
Just want to make sure we're maintaining authority. Okay, then with that, let me simplify that motion. I would like to make a motion that we authorize city council to continue, not city council, city staff to continue moving forward on implementing an urban renewal district based off the timeline presented to us this evening.
A second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed, say nay. Okay, city staff has their authorization to continue moving forward.
And staff will be happy to come back to council at any time with updates, so maybe we just make that kind of a standing.
I think it would be good to just give an update at least every other month if possible.
Yeah, I think even after we go through the project there and
Mhm.
then you're also gonna be the board for the urban. development. So, congratulations.
With that, let's move on to number 5 on our agenda, calendar of ordinances. A, which is an ordinance number 392-2024, ordinance of the city council of the city of Hubbard, amending the Hubbard Municipal Code by adding chapter 3.45, imposing a motor vehicle fuel tax, and providing for enforcement, administration, and collection of the tax.
Make a motion to read by title only for first reading.
Second.
Motion, I'm sorry, I don't need to read that. Ordinance number 392-2024, an ordinance of the city council of the city of Hubbard, amending the Hubbard Municipal Code by adding chapter 3.45, imposing a motor vehicle fuel tax and providing for enforcement, administration, and collection of the tax.
Make a motion to read by title only for second reading.
Second.
Ordinance number 392-2024, an ordinance of the city council of the city of Hubbard, amending the Hubbard Municipal Code by adding chapter 3.45, imposing a motor vehicle fuel tax and providing for enforcement, administration, and collection of the tax.
Excuse me. There wasn't a call for the vote on either of those motions,
Okay, we can read it.
or just call for a vote.
Okay, let's do it again. Motion.
Make a motion to read by title only for first reading.
Second that.
All those in favor of reading by motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. Okay, ordinance number 392-2024, an ordinance of the city council of the city of Hubbard, amending the Hubbard Municipal Code by adding chapter 3.45, imposing a motor vehicle fuel tax and providing for enforcement, administration, and collection of the tax.
Make a motion to read by title only for second reading.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. Okay, ordinance number 392-2024, an ordinance of the city council of the city of Hubbard, amending the Hubbard Municipal Code by adding chapter 3.45, imposing a motor vehicle fuel tax and providing for enforcement, administration, and collection of the tax.
Make a motion to adopt ordinance 392-2024.
Second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance number 392-2024. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. Okay. And for those in the audience scratching their head thinking, what the heck? We are not imposing a fuel tax. It has to go to the voters. We're just putting in the ability for us to do so. Just don't want anyone going offline thinking, oh my God, they would put a fuel tax in place. No, that has to be done by the
It'll
voters.
be taken care of.
Yeah. Okay, next agenda topic is appointment planning commission member. We have 2 positions open. We currently have 1 applicant, Phil Cartel. I don't know, do we have Phil Cartel here? I don't think so. Okay. We do have his application before us. Small business owner. Years in Hubbard as a resident is 14. And registered to vote in Hubbard. That's always good to see as well. Is there any concerns or questions on appointing Mr. Cartel?
I just think it would be nice if people would fill out the form so we could know who they are or show up. It would be helpful.
It would be
However, there's 2 positions and 1 person applied, so.
Does it look like a man of many words?
Short and to the point.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
Bill Cartel currently serves on the planning commission, so.
It's just a renewal of it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, if there is not any concerns, I would like to go ahead and make a motion that we appoint Phil Cartel to another term on the planning commission. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor for the appointment, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. Okay, Bill is back on. Moving right along, discussion regarding track of a track A of Mineral Springs subdivision, 10th and D Street. I'll hand this over to Administrator Wade.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. In your packet is a letter from the Mineral Springs Homeowners Association. They've reached out to see if the city would be interested in taking over ownership of the Tract A property located off of 10th Street, which is adjacent to the city's easement area At this time, staff is unsure of the square footage of the parcel. The property contains a storm system, a retention area, retaining walls, fencing, and a wetland mitigation area. Staff have concerns related to the maintenance of that property, and I will let Superintendent Ollinger explain. Melinda.
So I definitely have some concerns about, both ongoing costs for maintenance. What I estimate that annual maintenance would be approximately 40 hours. But in addition, we'd also have to maintain the retaining wall and the grounds. And then I also have a concern about the potential liability for either, personal and or property damage. And so those are my two concerns. I did reach out to our insurance agent, but unfortunately a reply is still pending. He was going to do some research on that, but I think he wasn't quite able to get that ready for tonight. One thing I was gonna note too, that it was my understanding when that was developed, that Mineral Springs subdivision, that the detention area was actually intentionally oversized. And that was to accommodate that future growth that did come, that would drain into that area. I haven't been able to confirm yet on the as-built if that is the case, but that was my understanding from way back when. So I'm pulling the historic files on that as well.
How far north does that homeowners association go on 10th Street?
So the homeowners association just encompasses the actual Mineral Springs development, which stops prior to A Street. But now that that detention pond actually serves the 10th Street drainage from approximately 70 feet north of Thomas Way. And that also includes the side streets coming in from all of Thomas Way, which is the cul-de-sac, and then also a portion of that A Street.
So both Cam's property and the
Yeah.
all go into that.
Yeah.
Is there a fee that the homeowners association collects?
I believe they may have something set up for that, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
So would the city take possession of the funds coming from the homeowners? That's supposed to,
That would be something that I think if council desired for the city to do that, that would be part of the negotiations, I would assume.
We would need to double check with our city attorney to make sure it's legal for us to accept those fees.
What about the sustainment or the maintenance of the retaining walls? Is that the homeowner's responsibility or would that then lie on the city to maintain?
That would be on the city to me.
And do we have an assessment on the engineering or the stability of those retaining walls? The
I-
concern being if they're failing?
Right, to the best of my knowledge, they're not failing now, but there is that potential, and definitely there would have to be that ongoing maintenance that I mentioned earlier.
there's a lot of trees growing up in that area. Is tree roots a potential for
Yes,
problem?
yes.
Before or everyone else monopolize it, Councilor Thomas, do you have any questions that you might have on this discussion
I
topic?
don't have any questions.
Any concerns that you have?
Yes, I would not do this.
Councilor Steininger?
Well, I think all of my concerns have been brought forward through your guys' presentation. So I also have some major concerns about picking up the liability of a project like that.
Councilor Yama?
First, we have all stressed the concerns out there. I'd like to at least get a little bit more information, maybe bring back to us next council meeting. Go ahead and pull those historical documents, maybe just have somebody, I'm not even sure how you're gonna be able to get to that area if you don't cross somebody's property. But how, like, is the wall in good condition? Can you walk in and just say, oh, there's no cracks in it, or, oh, this thing's falling apart? But it's, 15, 20 minutes to go swing through there.
There was a semi trailer in there for a little while.
There's what,
There was a flatbed semi trailer.
right, yeah, and you can access that property from D Street. And it is fenced, it's entirely fenced as well, but there's also that really steep drop off from where D Street is, the shoulder of D Street, and where that tract is as well.
Yeah, I was trying to think, it's been probably 2, maybe 3 years ago, I was I was doing some magnet fishing down there at the bottom, the creek bottom. And, we didn't find anything but a bunch of rusty old nails. Yeah, I remember looking at that and then it seemed, at least from what I remember, the cement seemed to be in pretty good shape. And then again, I would like to know if there's, we're going to be able to, accept any, fees for maintaining that. And would the city take actual possession of it, or would we, and I know that's negotiation points, but legally, could we accept fees if, to maintain that? I mean, is it in good shape? Will it last another, 20, 50 years, or is it something that needs work right away?
I think there's some concern that if it starts to slide, it would be sliding into what's considered a city's
Mhm.
now ownership,
Yes.
which would open up a whole nother.
This is a liability problem. So Councilor Rogers, any additional questions or concerns you want to throw in on that? Okay, I don't disagree with Councilor Yonley to bring back additional information, but I also completely agree with the concerns that we're hearing, both the liability, I hear Steve drop off, I hear a kid falling, breaking his arm, and then the city getting sued. All those things are going to be a concern to me. So as long as it, in my opinion, is not taking up too much of staff time to look into this, I guess you can proceed with doing an analysis on it. My concern would be if we see it expend a greater expenditure of staff time working on this, taken away from other priorities, then I might suggest, as we're already hearing, to kind of delay it or push back or just outright reject it. I'll leave it to your guys' discretion on how much time is adequate for it.
So I just want to be clear, because we will incur costs in researching this. So we will have to probably get a little bit of civil engineering in, and then also our city attorney's time in researching the fees.
What do you think the cost is going to be at that?
So when I had a conversation with our city attorney, it could be up to about 10 hours.
That's about, what, $2,000, $3,000?
Yeah, about 300 an hour.
Yeah.
I would like to reject this.
Yeah.
I-
At that point, I
I think, yeah, it's gonna be too expensive.
yeah, yeah, I think at this point, maybe we do pass on this, mainly because we are at an operating deficit right now. And we do have a lot of other priorities for us to focus on. I'm glad that this is in their thoughts to maybe hand this off to the city, and that's great. Maybe in the future, we're in a better position, we can take a look at it. But again, I think we can't even put a park on this parcel. So there's not really any other use besides us in some way taking on liability.
Mhm. So Director Noggle needs a motion.
I would like to make a motion that in regards to the track A of Mineral Springs subdivision that is on 10th and D Street, that the city not move forward with accepting the parcel at this time.
A second.
Would that work as a motion in a second? Good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed, say nay. Okay, that motion carries unanimously. By the way, thank you for bringing this to our attention, though. If it was just good enough for a park, that could maybe change something. Like a dog park. Okay, appearance now of interested citizens. Do we have anyone in the audience that wants to come and speak to us, regale us with a great story or 3 minutes of really cool talk? No one? Okay, let's move right along so we can all go home on this lovely cold evening. Okay, mayor and or council presentations. I just have a few quick ones. Number one, last week we did have the tree lighting ceremony. It happened on Friday, and thank goodness it did not rain, at least on me, for the first time in a long time. It was well attended. The fire hall of this Hubbard Fire District did a fantastic job getting it decorated. Lots of cookies. North Marion Fellowship did a fantastic job sponsoring it. Lots of folks there, and my appreciation to Administrator Waite for both being at the ceremony and the hall handing out tags, as many as we hopefully could for a giving tree. At the end, it was great. And by the way, it was great seeing the police department there this year as well. I think it was the first time we've seen the police department there. I remember. So it was fantastic. The other part was the following day on Saturday. Great job on the food drive. Again, great participation, interagency collaboration between the police department, Hubbard Fire District, as well as North Marion Fellowship and many, many individuals from the school district itself, for the schools. It sounds like it went off pretty well. And it was just also a lot of fun seeing everyone out there, minus it was raining that day. So I just want to say, what a great way to start this holiday season off. My appreciation to the Fire District, North Marion Fellowship, and our Police Department, and everyone who's volunteered today. Fantastic, and thank you. With that, any other council presentations? Councilor Rogers? The only thing I've got to say is great hopping article in there. Made me tear up a little bit thinking you won't be over there anymore drinking your big iced tea and talking about your next cruise. Councilor Thomas?
Just thank you, staff, for everything you guys do, and thanks to all the volunteers, city council, planning commission, other volunteers within Hubbard. It's a tough job. Appreciate everybody.
Councilor Simon?
I just want to say thank you to Councilor Thomas and Councilor Aldridge for all the years and the hard work and getting the city to where it's at this point. I just really appreciate all that you've done, and I hope you find lots of fun in the free time you have going forward. Thank you.
Councilor Gunn?
Not much to add other than thank both of you for fantastic time helping guide and manage the city. It's been very enjoyable working with you two.
My hope is you guys will follow Councilor Yonley's example and come right back. Okay, if there's nothing else, let's move on to our administrative report outs, and we'll start with Administrator Wade.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The burn rate report is attached to the packet. Just a couple of things to highlight in the report. In November, the city began receiving property tax revenue from the county. Staff will report back during the January meeting for the total amount received once December reconciliations are completed. Utility costs continue to come in much higher than budgeted. To date, the city has spent 50.96% of the budget for utilities. It is estimated that utilities will be approximately $9,000 over budget. Additionally, the burn rate report reflects that expenditures are trending on budget. However, there are several invoices that remain outstanding, such as the audit and Metcom, that will be paid in the next couple of months. At that time, the general fund expenditures will begin trending over budget. Furthermore, salaries and benefits are coming in within budget as a result of a vacancy in the police department. But once that position is filled, salaries and benefits will begin to exceed the budgeted amount. As previously stated, unbudgeted incentives and the new hire will push our expenditures over the budgeted amount, resulting in a deficit. Staff is working to mitigate the projected $130,000 operating deficit by holding off on certain project expenditures. Staff is working on new financial reports that will be presented at the January City Council meeting for consideration. I want to address the issue that I'm having with the auditor. Staff has been working with the auditor for the last several weeks, trying to get the audit finalized. This has been a very frustrating year for myself, working with this auditing firm. There's been multiple stops and starts. They're getting pulled away to work on other projects. We started working on the audit back at the end of August, and as of today, we still are not done. I had a conversation with the auditor last Friday concerned about when we were going to get our final audit report. The Secretary of State has a deadline of December 31st for cities to file, cities and counties, to file their audit reports. It does not look like at this time that the auditors are going to meet that deadline, which would mean I have to file an extension for the city. That can have impacts to federal grants. So federal grants often require that audits are submitted annually and on time. And so that could be problematic for the city as we're going into a one-stop meeting to negotiate with USDA, DEQ, and other agencies for funding for our wastewater treatment plant. I have let our city attorney know that I'm concerned about where we're at with filing the audit report. The auditor has let me know that by the end of this week, he will notify me if for sure we need to file an extension.
So more to come, and I will update council on Friday about where we're at, but I'm very concerned about the lack of urgency that's being expressed by this firm.
What's our service level agreement with them in terms of turnaround? 5 months seems to be rather long to complete an audit.
Exactly. So we're kind of at their mercy. So the master service agreement doesn't actually spell out a time frame. Initially, they said that in November, they would really be focusing on our audit and get it done by the end of November. So we would have our final audit report. They started pulling information here and there, around August, and I was posting information in this website module that I'm working in. And there's just really no commitment as far as the timeline in the master service agreement.
So is there any escalation path for us to go up on them, the outside, to the next level? Any
Well,
escalation path?
Yeah, there is a commitment within the master service agreement that they will file the audit for us. It is a standard deadline. It's a rare exception that you file an extension. My thought is that once I get more information, I will be back to council to potentially seek direction on legal action against them.
Okay, that's what I'm kind of looking at. What is our next steps, or what do we have in our pocket?
Well, and this audit's gonna cost us approximately $30,000, so that's a lot of money for a cash basis audit. So I will be going out for an RFP to seek another auditing firm once we get our final audit from this
So
firm.
they're not doing all hands on deck right now.
No, they're on vacation, actually.
Is
How
there,
many other municipalities? Do they come recommended from League Oregon Cities or any of those others?
So part of the issue is, they are an auditing firm that has done municipalities for years, and specifically kind of smaller cities. They were bought out last year by Red W, and since then I've seen a significant difference in their service and kind of how things are working.
I would think that all the communities could maybe band together and
Several communities have already left them.
Yeah.
It's a little late for us to leave them right now, though.
I was thinking that this is the same auditing agency we've had for a number of years.
Yes.
And since they've always provided us good service in the past, that's why we continue with them, but I guess they were bought out by another larger firm.
is it possible to have our city attorney send them a letter explaining the liability that they may be facing?
So I have
A
talked to
lot of
them.
money in grants, that's a big deal.
Yeah, I have.
Especially right now.
Yeah, relayed that information to our auditors, holding off on sending a letter because I do feel that if we're gonna pursue legal action, I would want city council direction. I'm hoping that they will resolve the issue before we get to that point and incur a lot of legal fees as far as our city attorney working on anything. Again, I'll know more by Friday. So,
I guess you'll keep us updated by then.
they'll go criminal with any of this and bring in the police department.
Right.
Gotta come back to town.
We've not seen
The broader picture, though, is this forum that has been working with us for years has also missed some of the obvious things, such as missed revenue that
Yeah.
we weren't seeing. Intact, when I look at your burn rate and I look at the budget, is that taken into account now, the unrecognized revenue from the billing mishap?
So actually, the rates in the system are accurate as of 2024. So the burn rate does include.
So they are
actual
accurate.
rates.
So I'm
Yeah,
not looking at a budget that's not real. We can't even realize in terms of the budget.
correct, correct. But I do want to end my report on a happy note. So the movies in the park have been scheduled. So June 20th, we will be playing The Never Ending Story. July 25th, Jumanji, and August 22nd, Finding Nemo. And I would like to thank the Ford Family Foundation, PGE, and Safeway for the sponsorship of these events. And that concludes my report.
Going around real quick, Councilor Aldrich, any additional questions before we move on, from Administrator Witt?
No, I have nothing. Thank you.
Councilor, Voss?
No questions, thank you.
Councilor Steiner?
I mean, it's my only question to follow up on the potential legal pursuit. Would it help if we like gave you a nod of we are willing to pursue stuff, or so you have more leverage, or do you feel like you have everything you need to try to continue to convince them to get this done on time?
At this point, I feel like, I don't really need a head nod. What will happen is at the next meeting, if we do miss that deadline, I will have our city attorney call the lead, auditor that's overseeing our audit. I will pursue that in the meantime, but if it requires legal action at the January meeting, I'll be seeking council approval.
I mean, I wouldn't be against having a executive meeting to pursue legal stuff if we need to hit the deadline, because it is a really big deal. Just want to make sure that's clear.
Councilor Ahmed?
Yeah.
Just to drag them back in on you. December 31st?
I would be okay. I mean, I really like spending time with them.
Councilor Ahmed?
Yeah, so just a couple things, yeah, so the, on the audit work that has been completed, looks like a water rate increase from 2021 was not entered in the utility billing system for water usage above the base rate amount, so, but it is current as of today, so we didn't miss a percentage there that we had added on top of.
Correct. So, there's about a 3-year stretch so base rate was correct. And then when you went to tier 1 and 2, those rates weren't correct. The total revenue loss was just over $10,000.
Okay, we're not looking at going back out and trying to build it
Oh,
to
no.
anybody's to pay.
It's like a monopoly game, an error in our favor, their favor.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's good, I guess. Unfortunately. And Jumanji, was that the most recent one with Don Johnson, the Rock in it, or was that, Robin Williams? Did one
Yeah,
2 years
so it
prior to
will be
that?
the Robin Williams one.
It'll be the Robin Williams, okay,
Okay,
that's all.
is there any other questions for Minister Witt before we move on to the police department? Okay, we'll hand it over to Chief Parisi, who I understand was just recognized this evening with a life-saving award in Donald.
Actually, it wasn't myself. It was one of our finest, Officer Tim Hart.
Yeah, that's right.
So, yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council. Good evening to you folks. That's kind of, I wanted to start off and just kind of recognize the remarkable act of heroism on Officer Hart's part as he was on patrol in Donald on a dedicated block of time. And when he noticed a medical call that was in his pinion queue, if you will, which he was very close to. And it was involving a 38-year-old male. And Officer Hart didn't hesitate whatsoever, immediately jumped on the call, responded to there, and he beat the medics by several minutes who were coming from Aurora in the fire department. And immediately noticed the individual was rapidly declining, and Officer Hart had to jump in and perform life-saving measures, which was very, very successful. So yeah, we, City Council and Donald wanted to meet tonight just to kind of recognize him. So the whole department went there initially to support Officer Hart in receiving that recognition. And this certainly does rise to the level of further recognition, specifically through our awards program. So we intend to recognize Officer Hart with a life-saving award, which will be done next month at our city council here. And we'll invite Donald City Council to that also and whatnot. So we've since had the opportunity to meet with the family. I accompanied Officer Hart. The family wanted to introduce Officer Hart and the rest of us to, the gentleman that was in crisis there. And so it was great meeting the family and their young child, and they were so appreciative. In fact, the wife was very convinced that if Officer Hart had not gotten there when he had, her husband probably wouldn't have hung on until medics arrived. So it was very moving encounter, and it was just neat to see them all embrace and all that good stuff as well. So
It's the type of story that just great to hear, quite honestly.
thank you. Yeah, totally agree. Next, I just wanted to move on and share with you all, very happy to share that our new evidence lockers and shelving have arrived. This was a long-awaited improvement that will significantly enhance our ability to manage evidence securely and professionally. These upgrades are especially vital for ensuring that we meet best practices for evidence storage, security, and chain of custody management, as recommended by numerous outside inventories and audits that have been conducted by other agencies and whatnot in the past. So we're really excited about that. Everybody loves it. We were able to take the old temporary lockers out of the bathroom. So that's just exciting. We're not hitting our head on that anymore, and there's no risk of any evidence falling into the toilet. So we're really excited. We're just really excited about that. So, yeah. But I also want to take a moment and highlight the outstanding support that we received throughout this project from our city administrator, Sean Waite, whose efforts were instrumental in making the project a reality. Administrator Waite's guidance and advocacy were crucial in securing the necessary funding and approvals while working with the budget committee and city council and what have you. So we want to thank her so much. Couldn't have done it without her. The combined thoughtful consideration and support of this project are a testament to the shared dedication to improving the quality of public safety services we all provide for our communities. So I think that says a lot. And this particular improvement not only boosts our efficiency, but also reinforces our professionalism in the eyes of our community and our profession. It's a clear example of how collaboration between city leadership and the police department leads to tangible improvements that help us serve our community more effectively and professionally. So I just want to thank you, City Administrator Waite, and Council and Budget Committee, everybody, for your support. Thanks so much. Next, I just wanted to provide an update on the Metcom board meeting regarding the Marion County radio project. I attended that most recent board meeting where we discussed the status of the Marion County radio project as part of an ongoing efforts to improve communication and interoperability among local public safety agencies. Marion County had originally quoted us one particular price. And when I say us, I mean all of the user agencies within the Metcom Dispatch Center, and then have since come back and added additional fees, substantial additional fees to each of the user agencies from what was originally quoted. So the kind of it's definitely a financial burden that's alarmed many involved user agencies, and basically the decision in this meeting was thought to go and talk to the county commissioners by the executive board of the Metcom Dispatch Services to suggest they look at a taxing district, much like other agencies have done, like in Washington and Clackamas County, as a way to fund this project and whatnot. So the executive board is going to go and talk with them and pitch that idea and see what they say. Worst case scenario, the board has thought that if they don't agree to something like that, then we would have to look at like a simulcast system, which is something that was looked at back in 2018, roughly or so. This has been going on for a number of years. And so we were quoted one price at that time. So you all can imagine now the price will be even higher for a simulcast system and whatnot. So more to come on that, but Marion County has given all Metcom users until March of 25 to either get on board or not. And they've made it very clear that despite what any of the users in Metcom do, they're moving forward with their radio project and whatnot, so.
What's the cost of that radio project? Do we know to us if we were to move with that?
Yeah, I don't have the numbers with me, forgive me, right off the top of my head, but I know for us, just, would probably be over $70,000 is the new quote, if I recall correctly.
And what was the Metcom bill this year?
It's up to 103,000 now.
Yeah. So,
Well, that does not include, our initial conversations, they were gonna charge us 25,000 to take on Donald.
Right.
But Chief and I have been pushing back on them that, you know, we're responding to like 14 dispatch calls a month, which does not equate to 25,000. So I asked them to provide me a rate per call, and that's when things started.
very expensive by call.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the decision that's coming down the pipeline for the council to make then before March. If we're gonna go one route or another, are we gonna have sufficient information by April or February to even start having those type of discussions? Because
So Mayor, Council, I don't want to go into a whole lot of detail. Chief Parisi and I have been looking at kind of what our options are as a city. And we're strategizing on some other options that we will be bringing forward January-ish.
so stay tuned, lucky you guys will have. Chris, you'll get sucked into that one now.
Set up a base station back here in the building. I used to dispatch fire and ambulance back in the day.
Perfect, we'll take it.
You're hired.
You're hired. Okay. Continue on, Chief Parisi.
Thank you, Mayor. Really, the only other thing I just noted in the report as well is that the user fee committee is still working, through Metcom to try to establish, user fees. It's still a work in progress, and more will be coming on that. Our next meeting is December 16th. So I'll keep you all updated on that as well. And, oh, I'm sorry, and then last thing I was just gonna comment on is, our lateral police officer, passed his background. And so he is, going to the, next phases this week and then next week, and we'll be done, so.
He should be on board, January 1.
Without needing field training, right? He'll be ready to go straight out? or-
Well, actually, he'll definitely get field training. There's some things we'll definitely want to acclimate him to and whatnot. So there will be a bit of a delay, but not as much of a delay as if he had to go to the academy. We'll be cut in half.
Hopefully not him. With that, let's go around the opposite way. Counselor Yonley, any additional questions for Chief Parisi?
Have none?
Counselor Steiner?
Is there a way we can start them on January 2nd and not pay holiday pay?
So I'll be honest, I made that call, to start him on January 1. If we started him on January 2nd, I was concerned that he would be going a month without any insurance.
Oh, that definitely would insurance center.
Any additional questions? or-
No.
Okay, Counselor Thomas.
No questions.
Counselor Aldrich.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you. so much.
Thank you, Chief Parisi. We'll move on now to, Chief Mogul. I'll that one down.
Okay, the official election results are in. Mayor for 2 years, Charles Rossesville, and 4 years, Patrick and Chris. Patrick had to resign as budget committee member, and Chris had to accept the position by filing the appropriate paperwork, which has been done. The measure has passed 63.01%. So those official results are in the consent agenda. As consent agenda, we're having issues back there talking for council's acceptance. And since we did have Patrick resign, we only have one budget member committee person left. So we have 4.
What would we do? Next council comes out, we can-
So Tyler and Jane.
I'll
Somebody wasn't out there.
Seven show shines.
Sorry for that again. The land use planning, we are now scheduling a joint meeting, my goodness, we're doing a work session prior to the public hearing because there have been some changes proposed to the initial recommendations of that public hearing, the multi-use, the mixed use.
That's the continuation of the open hearing.
Yes. So there's gonna be a work session prior to the public hearing at the planning commission meeting. And then on the back, I have some dates there for newsletter deadlines, but on the back of my report, I have some little colorful flow charts that I was told that you guys liked.
Someone's playing with charts in Excel.
The funds, that you see that we're, receiving from Donald now we're kind of leveling off. When they come in for court, they sign court payments, and so we're now, receiving those court payment funds in the next, month. So that's kind of why you see the leveling off on that end. Building permits, I, went ahead and kind of proposed or put a 5-year look there. We're not totally done yet with 2024, but I'm not predicting a whole lot of change by December 31st. In 2020, there was a lot of some infill lots and a few industrial commercial buildings. Other types of permits were remodeling, tenant improvement, and miscellaneous type building applications. We have not had a lot of single-family residential units since 2019, which was, one of the last subdivision that has taken place.
Coleman Estates, right?
Pardon me?
The Coleman Estates.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is, completes my report unless you have any questions.
Counselor Aldrich, any additional questions?
I do not. Thank you.
Counselor Thomas?
No questions, thanks.
Counselor Steiner?
Yeah, thank you.
Counselor Arnold?
Do not.
And the only thing I've got is welcome aboard, Chris. Great job running a write-in campaign and successfully getting it over the hurdle. Okay, with that, we'll move on to the next agenda, and that'll be Public Works.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So Public Works, your Public Works team is continuing to make progress on wrapping up projects and tasks, in addition to kind of staying on track with the new and long-term pending projects. As you see, we've got 3 items on the consent agenda. I did want to mention on the first one, some encouraging news. As of today, we've got 14 potential bids for the water project, which bids will be opened officially on this coming Thursday at 1. So, but it is really encouraging that's a pretty high number. So,
I remember we were happy to get 3 a long time ago.
yes, 2 even. And then just a little bit to add on, I had mentioned that we did get that pretty significant pothole patched along D Street. There's just west of 99E. To add to that, unfortunately, we were not successful in our 2024 SCA grant application, so we weren't awarded that. And I believe that part of the reason it wasn't as competitive as some of the other agencies' projects that they have proposed is because of the lower volume of traffic in that area. Maybe one of the significant reasons why it wasn't funded. I am completing a cost estimate for D Street improvements to potentially address the portion of the street sections that are in the worst condition. Between 2nd and 3rd Streets is definitely one of those areas that is in, extremely poor condition. And so I'm also speaking with Union Pacific to see if there can be any kind of waivers on their fees for us to come in and do that paving. They're not going to have to make any adjustments on the rails. It's a strict overlay type of project. So we'll see kind of where those discussions go. In addition, as I mentioned in my report, then I'm also working with ODOT and Marion County and potentially even some of the closer cities like Woodburn that may have some overlay projects that are coming up in this current, in the coming construction season. So if we can kind of piggyback on their projects, we may get a little bit better pricing for potentially doing some city funded overlays, but then also potentially doing whatever we can't do on B Street for complete overlay improvements, doing kind of the tire lane. What we've seen on what ODOT do on 9090, where they basically do 2 tracks where the tires run on the street to at least kind of tide us over and hopefully keep the streets drivable until we can fully fund the entire project.
So since that's a truck route, or at least a designated truck route, is that ODOT's designation or is that Hubbard's designation?
That is actually, the truck route was designated by the city originally as part of the official truck route. Yes.
Okay. So ODOT doesn't have any responsibility for us pushing heavy loads down those roads.
ODOT does not really, no. And they definitely wouldn't claim any. And then moving on, so just a little bit more information to add to the training updates. Just yesterday, Public Works Foreman Mike Krebs and Utility Worker 2, Juan Hernandez, and Utility Worker 1, Aaron Caballero, successfully completed their mandatory flagging certification training. And they've received their certifications, which are now current for 2 years. So that's great. In addition, Utility Worker 1, Bill Doversberger, has begun his in-house wastewater treatment plant BOD lab training. This is mandatory testing procedure and is completed on a weekly basis. And each week it takes approximately 4.5 to 5 hours to complete. So he's just started last week on his training for that. So then a few other items to update as well. The city shop roof repair has been awarded and we've signed the contract, and that will be moving forward once they've already ordered the materials, so they just need to receive them, and then we'll wait for that 2-day window, weather window, to get that roof on the north side, so the older shop building will be completely repaired. And then approximately 2 to 3 years from now, we'll be budgeting hopefully for the replacement of the south side. So, and then also staff is very close to executing both the water and wastewater rate study and the SDC methodology study. And I'm anticipating that work will begin in earnest in early January 2025 on those projects. And we'll definitely be using those numbers and what we come up with the consultant on as we go through the budget process as well. So we did have our emergency operations and emergency management team had our first official meeting with our consultant and a Marion County representative. And we began the plan review of what the contractor had done so far. And we're starting to provide some feedback, and we're looking to schedule a second meeting here coming up, hopefully before the end of the year, but if not the end of the year, hopefully early next year. So that project's definitely moving forward as well. In addition, as I had mentioned a couple months back, I believe, we're required by the health department to install meters, at least a minimum of 1 meter per year, where we're currently unmetered. And we did, just today, actually, we finished the meter installed over at the wastewater treatment plant. So that was the first one that was completed. So that was good moving forward. And then also, wanted to let you guys know that I did hear also from Oregon Emergency Management, and they had a bit of a delay internally on their end, but they are beginning the procurement process now for our 2024 grant funded fuel transfer equipment. So that is going to be moving forward, and hopefully within the next 60-ish days approximately, we'll have an agreement to bring to council. So we're hopefully to accept and authorize signature on that. And then I also wanted to do a shout out to Republic Services. For one thing, as you know, they've, for the last quite a few years, I believe at least 5 years, they've been annually providing and supporting and sponsoring our, both our spring cleanup event and then also our leaf and yard debris event. And then just recently, I was notified that they had some potential concerns with one of the dumpsters that we have located at the upper wastewater treatment plant due to liquids that are dumping out and not solids. And so there was concern that might not be acceptable and that may be an issue. So I spoke with them on the phone for a bit. And then we decided that we were going to think about it a little bit. And then I was telling Sean, our city administrator, that not like it seemed like just 2 seconds later, there was a knock on on the door, and 2 Republic Services representatives were on site, ready to take a look at our, and help us troubleshoot to see what we needed to do to get that rectified. And, and so we met, I explained the situation, and, it turned out that it wasn't going to be the issue that they thought that it was going to be originally, but we spoke a little bit more, and we talked about how it would be really nice not to have that rainwater collecting in the bottom. And so they actually took it upon themselves to say, we're going to go ahead and design a special dumpster for you guys. So, and 2 days later, they brought a brand new dumpster. They had actually drilled out drains in the bottom, and then they had welded a metal grate about 8 inches above the bottom to collect the solids that's there. And so I just really commend them. That was, exceptional customer service, and I really appreciate it. So just wanted to do that official shout out to them.
Excellent. Good to hear good stories like that.
Yeah.
It's more like, I hope it wasn't like us throwing oil and paint and everything else. And
No, that was.
okay, questions? Is that all, Superintendent Mullander? Anything else?
Oh,
or-
no, I'm.
Okay, so Councilor Rogers, any questions?
No, just a good job on getting on those water leaks so quickly and getting the communication out there, which is one thing that we've been pushing for a long time. Thank you.
Councilor Thomas?
No question, thank you.
Councilor Steiner?
The dashboard, do you have an update on that?
I do have an update. Unfortunately, it's not what I had hoped that it would be. I am still working on that, but I just have been pulled from other priority projects, and I'm just not to the point yet to do that. But I'm anticipating by early 2025, I will have something officially to present to council. So
No, I understand you've been busy. I just saw it on here and thought I would check.
yeah, I'm glad you did. That's a great question.
Councilor Young?
Have no further questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll go ahead and move on with, I see Chief Carmen's on. So Chief, do you have an update from the fire district?
I do. Thank you, Mayor and council members, for hearing me. We had 61 calls for service in the month of November. With today's calls added in, we're at 805 for the year. I do anticipate that we will probably end around 850 or so, which is about 50 less than last year, which is what our numbers have been showing. Tomorrow night, the board of directors will make a decision on what direction they're going to go with the local option levy that's expiring in June of 2025. That meeting, public meeting tomorrow at the fire station at 6:30, if anyone wants to come down and listen to it. Another thing to note, the website is down. We are aware of that, and we're working on getting that fixed just as soon as possible. I anticipate that probably by the end of the week, we should have a good handle on getting that back up and running. Our Facebook is not affected. So for the meantime, look to that outlet for social media news from us. Lastly, we have a burn to learn this coming Sunday. It's going to be off of 99, so it's going to be very noticeable to the public. We're letting everybody know that we'll be burning the old motorcycle shop down, and we don't want anyone calling 911. We'll be on scene taking care of business. These are great training opportunities for us to not only get to practice our fire skills during live fire training situations, but it also allows us to train new members in incident command and writing incident action plans, preparing for these types of events. So it's very valuable training to the district. When we get these opportunities, we have to seize them when we can. And that'll go from approximately 8 o'clock in the morning till 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday, December 15th. Lastly, we just have, we're going to be installing smoke detectors for those homes that need them. That is one of my priorities as the fire chief, is making sure that we can get smoke detectors out to the folks that need them at no cost. Partnered with the Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office to do this. We can get 25 smoke detectors at a time. And we will start our campaign as soon as we receive those first 25 units. And we'll make sure to get the word out so that everyone knows how they can get some smoke detectors if they are lacking them or they need to be updated in their homes. You guys have any questions for me?
Councilor Young, any questions?
Yeah, so you said the old motorcycle shop, there's actually a couple of old motorcycle shops around, I'm assuming it's the green one that's boarded up, has some orange, is it kind of a bright neon orange paint on it, so I think there's an A on one side, and, because the one a little bit further out of town on that same side of the highway is, I think they're closed up too. So, but, what's that cross street there? Schmidt Lane? Yeah, right across from Schmidt Lane. And then I also just recently replaced one of my fire smoke detectors. And something that I thought was kind of new, kind of interesting is it's sealed. You can't replace the battery. So once the battery goes, you have to buy a new one and replace the whole unit. So I was just thinking that was kind of a environmental waste type thing going on there. So just kind of an observation. Wish I would have known you guys are giving out for free. Cost me $35, I think, to get that. So thank you very much.
Yeah, the new smoke detectors are sealed. You're correct. That's because they don't want people taking the batteries out. Maybe when they're having nuisance alarms from cooking or potentially smoking activities. The cost for the 25 smoke detectors that we get from the state fire marshal's office is approximately $500 plus shipping. So they're definitely not cheap. However, the district is not paying that, and we're not adding any costs to those citizens that will be receiving them. We get that donated from Office of the State Fire Marshal.
Councilor Stein? Councilor Jones?
No question, thank you.
Councilor Young?
No questions, thank you.
And no questions for me. Just again, if you didn't hear earlier, thank you for your participation in the tree lighting ceremony and the food drive. It's always great to see the Hubbard Fire District there partnering with the city and the police department.
We look forward to it each year.
Excellent. Okay, with that, let's move on to consent agenda. And I'm sure it's with a slight tear that we're gonna see Councilor Thomas and Audrich have to listen to me read this for the last time. So we'll start off with approval of the city council minutes, November 12th, 2024, as well as November 20th, 2024 special. Approval of the November 2024 check register report. Approved the contract with Lynn's Lock for in-car and body-worn cameras for the Hubbard Donald Police Department and delegate authority to the city administrator to execute the contract. Authorize City Administrator Sean Waite to execute the contract and all related documents for the water distribution improvement projects. Accept and authorize City Administrator Sean Waite to execute the Civil West Amendment number 1 of the SB 1530 wastewater and waste infrastructure improvements project agreement. Accept and authorize City Administrator Sean Waite to execute the generator procurement and contract documents for the water system improvement project. Acceptance of official election results held November 5th, 2024.
Make a motion to accept consent agenda as read.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed say nay. Okay, there is no other city business listed on the agenda, so the last agenda topic would be adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed say nay. And we are adjourned. Thank you all. Thank you, gentlemen, for serving on three days. Probably they have additional ones there in the office outside of just the library.
Oh, thank you. My kid would like to for sure. My son probably trying to hang in his room.
Blackwell or
That's right.